Welcome to the Love Lab Podcast, a safe place to get real about sex. Whether you're a man, woman, single, or couple, this is the show for you.
We are your hosts, Kevin Anthony and Céline Remy, and we are here to guide you to go from good to amazing in the bedroom and beyond.
All right, welcome back to the Love Lab Podcast. This is episode 145, and it's titled How to Spot a Narcissist. This is something that comes up quite a lot. And I don't know if it's just because of the area we live in, I mean, it is Southern California, no offense, but this really comes up a lot. We've had quite a few friends and clients as well who struggle in dating and relationships with narcissists. And it seems that some people have a tendency to keep attracting narcissists over and over and over again. It's this pattern that we see in their relationship choices. And so we have a special guest on the show today who's going to help us unpack that a little bit, hopefully, and figure out why these things happen. And I think it's going to be a fascinating conversation.
And there might be something about you that you might need to change. Ooh, spoiler alert. Before we get to that, let's give a big shout out to our sponsors, Power and Mastery. So if you want to join the secret club of men who are great in bed, then check out Power and Mastery at powerandmastery.com. It is the most complete sexual mastery training for men. Whether you want to have harder erections, last longer in the bedroom, or increase your sexual skills, there is something for you at powerandmastery.com. So our guest today is Manuel Santana. He grew up outside of Boston and he was always a people person and had a passion to help others. In May 2016, he founded Meet to Keep matchmaking services in Miami. Through experience, research, observation, and conversations, he gathered knowledge and expertise to develop an amazing concept, which he decided to put into a book, Secrets of the Guy Code, The Balance of Power. And I know not only does he have a book, he has a online course as well, but he'll tell us more about that later in the show. But welcome, Manuel, to the show.
Thank you. Thank you to the both of you for having me. It's a pleasure, and I look forward to this show. We have a lot to talk about.
We do.
Yes, we do. All right, so let's just dive right in. And the first question is, you went from matchmaker to relationship coach. And so we were curious, what did you learn from matchmaking that made you want to go into relationship coaching?
Well, for starters, matchmaking is usually for like busy business professionals that don't have time to find people. It's kind of like personalized online dating. But the thing is, if let's say I'm attracted to a certain type of woman, but I'm single, and my relationships never work out, but I'm very adamant about a certain type of woman. And I tell the matchmaker, can you find me someone that looks like this, does this for a living, whatever the case may be. And, as a matchmaker, I have to just go by what you want. And I can set you up on 10 dates and you never get a second date simply because I keep setting you up with exactly what your problem is. Because you're not telling me that that's what your problem is. I'm just providing you a service. So I figured, there is no benefit, especially for what I'm trying to accomplish with my message. I felt like matchmaking wasn't like the solution, and I needed another area of expertise, if you will, to be able to get my message out.
Yeah, so that actually makes a lot of sense, because basically what you're saying is you were trying to help people connect, right? Matchmaking. But what you kept finding is that there were underlying patterns of behavior that were underneath what they were saying they wanted that kept preventing them from being able to successfully matchmake. Very, very interesting.
I also find that when we work with clients, I know people think, I want this certain type of person in my life. And if you are so focused on the outside appearances, it's really a red flag that there's something not that you're not looking at, because if you go by how the person looks, usually you will go for the wrong person. And starting to look into like what kind of person you want, like how do you want to feel around that person, and the energy, like all of that. And this is when things start to shift. And I can see how you can guide people to start to discover what their wants are when you do the coaching work. But it's the matchmaking. Well, they're just like, hey, I'm paying you and this is what I want, so give me what I want, independently of having a great result. So I see that. So I want to bring it back to you a little bit here, Manny, because you described yourself as being the nice guy who finished last. That was kind of your previous life. When we were talking in our pre-interview, you're like, this is me, the nice guy who finishes last, you know? And it's like, oh, great. And maybe some of our listeners can relate to that. So tell us about your own personal experience and how it relates to the balance of power, to like what it means to be the nice guys who finished last, and then how you went from there.
All right. Well, when I was a kid, I was always shy. First grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, I was shy probably until fifth or sixth grade, maybe seventh grade. But I was always really shy. So I was shy to make friends, and I was shy to talk to girls. But when I got older in middle school, I wasn't shy to make friends anymore, but I was still shy to talk to girls. So it was like going from level to level, step by step, being able to make friends and being able to talk to girls. So then when I got to high school, that's when, the shyness started to go away, and I started having the courage, if you will, to talk to girls. But nice guys finish last, it's the law of natural selection by Charles Darwin. Alpha males have more tenacity, and they're not going to waste time. They see a beautiful girl, they're going to go talk to her, they're going to make it happen, they're going to build some sort of chemistry, and next thing you know, they're dating, bing, bam, boom. The nice guy, he's going to be shy about it, he's going to be hesitant, he's not going to approach her. If he does approach her, he's going to be kind of sluggish, he's not going to build interest, then she's just going to friend zone him, she's going to say, oh, I had no idea you was trying to talk to me. And he's not going to date her, and she's going to date the alpha male, and he's just going to sit there and just be on the side. And maybe down the line, after she gets her heart broken, then she's going to give him a chance. But then that comes with some sort of baggage. Now he has to tolerate any type of abuse, if that happened, anything that happened where it destroyed her emotionally, and now she takes the anger out on the nice guy, and he has to tolerate it. But if he had tenacity to begin with, he wouldn't have been, second in line.
So I'm curious, you mentioned alpha male.
Yeah.
And other than tenacity, what is it about the alpha male that tends to get the woman? Well,
an alpha male has natural courage and bravery. Like, for example, someone who's a firefighter, a service member in the army, things like that. Any type of job that you have to put your life at risk, it takes a lot of bravery and a lot of courage. You're not going to find someone like Bill Gates. He's not an alpha male. He's not like a big, strong, tough guy. He's more about intellect. So an alpha male is fearless. So fearless when it comes to anything, including approaching a stranger. An alpha male is confident, and women love confidence. That's what makes a man attractive. That he has confidence. That when he walks, he has confidence. He exudes like this aura of confidence that attracts her to him. So when he approaches her, he has confidence, and that makes her interested. The nice guy might say, hi, can I talk to you?
Some of our listeners might be in a place of like, okay, well, Manny, that sounds good, but I don't want to be an asshole. And I'm just curious because this is something we've talked about in other shows and that's things that we teach, but I want to get your opinion on that because I do find that a lot of men are being torn between this idea of the alpha male and they associate certain characteristics, but they also associate some of the more negative traits. And they're like, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be the John Wayne guy because that didn't work in the past. So then they want to be more of the nicer guy, but that doesn't really work either. So how do you find that balance? Is there a difference between alpha male and like I'm going to use the term healthy expression of alpha male versus unhealthy? Like, what's your opinion on that?
I'm glad you mentioned that. So how this journey really started, I was like 16, 17 years old. I was in high school. There was this girl I was really interested in. And I found like this dating coach. I can't pronounce his name. He was like Italian. And it was like a really long, hard name, but he just went by Mr. P. So I would, I purchased his e-course. I was in his newsletter, and he would talk about the very same thing that you're talking about, that, people have to understand a balance where, women, they like bad boys, not because the fact that they're rude, but because of the fact that they're not pushovers. The fact that, like women like to test a man to see if he's like emotionally strong, to see if he can, if he can tolerate, if he can handle her. And the nice guy can never handle her. She might just snap at him. He's like, okay, sorry. But the asshole jerk, who the fuck are you talking to? But I'm not saying that that's like how you're supposed to talk. But the point is, he gets her to respect him, and she's not gonna disrespect him again. So there's a way you can be assertive without being an asshole. You can say, don't talk to me like that ever again. If you talk to me like that, I'm just gonna walk away. I know my worth. I'm not tolerating that. Men have to know how to be assertive. You can't be passive and you can't be aggressive. You just have to be in the middle, assertive.
And I love that you're saying assertive, because one of my clients I was working with, he kept saying she wants me to be more aggressive. And I was like, no, she doesn't want you to be aggressive. She wants you to be assertive. And that's exactly what I kept telling him. And I would agree with the women being attracted. We went to see a show a few weeks ago, and there was a really bad character that was kind of like representing like the devil, that bad energy. And then I was just telling Kevin, man, he's so fucking hot. And well, he was a good looking guy.
He was ripped, right? Big muscles. So, that's very a masculine trait. He had these like skin tight leather pants on, and his attitude was like he was in charge.
Yes. And so that's exactly what we realized. And he wasn't, yes, he was muscular, but he was still a thin man, not that he was like a Arnold Schwarzenegger type thing, But what was interesting is I was so turned on by the persona, not because he was evil, he was doing bad things. But what I loved was that he just was going after what he wanted. And that's what, as a woman, I was finding so attractive.
Yeah. And so, but see, this is the problem that women run into all the time, which is they think they want the bad boy because they don't understand what they really are seeking in that bad boy, which is everything that you were saying, Manny, right? It's the drive, the, sort of taking charge. It's the being masculine. It's all of those things, the traits that what we would call, masculine, but the concept of creating polarity between her and him. And that's what she's really seeking. And unfortunately, I think in today's day and age, there aren't enough men that are good examples of that healthy masculinity. And that's where I think a lot of women struggle, because they're not attracted to the softies, but they try to date the bad boys, and the bad boys treat them like shit, and then they're not happy there either.
Yeah.
So how do narcissists fit into this picture? Now that we want to bring it all the way back to our theme of today's show.
Okay, so in ethnology, alpha male, beta male, omega male, alpha male being like the top of the food chain, it's quite easier for an alpha male to be a narcissist than an omega male to be a narcissist. Reason being is because narcissists are very self-absorbed. Narcissists, they feel as if the world revolves around them. And the thing is that tends to be attractive to women. The reason being is because if I'm a narcissist, I think the world revolves around me. I'm going to take care of myself. So I'm going to always look my best. Then on top of that, because I think the world revolves around me, I'm not going to tolerate shit from anyone. So if a girl says, I'm leaving, okay, leave, get the fuck out of here. Right? That's what a narcissist says, because the world belongs to him. You know, it's like, I don't care. But women find that attractive as well, because it's like, wow, he can actually live without me. Where the nice guy would say, please don't go. Right? And then now, see, the thing is, so again, that the dating coach from when I was in high school, one of his newsletters I never forgot, he said, the deepest, darkest secret that women have. And he just went on and on and on just to build, you know, excitement and build like tension. And at the finally at the end, he said, the biggest secret that women have, what they want more than anything, is to feel like she belongs to someone. Not that she's owned by him, but she belongs to him. There's a difference.
There certainly is. And
a huge difference.
It's a huge difference, and yet it's hard for a lot of people to see.
Yes. And so like when I tell people, being in control and being controlling is two different things. Being dominant and dominating is two different things. So women, they want the man to be in control, but a lot of men, they see it as being controlling. No, you can't go out. No, you can't wear that. No, you can't do. And that's where the feminist movement comes in, where it's like women have been oppressed by men for centuries, but it's because of the toxic masculinity trait of thinking that we have to control you. Instead of being in control, it's like we have to control you. And that's where the problem lies.
Yeah, I always say that there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. I don't think they should go together, but there's toxic behaviors. And again, it's understanding that difference between being dominant and dominating, controlling and in control. Like, this is such a fine line. But once you start to understand that within yourself, and that you can embrace those qualities from the masculine, I believe that definitely increases your power and your attractiveness towards women, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, I always used to use the examples, and I guess I still do use examples to try to illustrate the difference between those two. And so, like, I used to use this example a lot, where I would say, okay, the two of you are trying to decide where you want to go for dinner. Mm-hmm. So the nice guy, he goes, well, where would you like to go? And she says, oh, I don't know. Where would you like to go? Well, wherever you want to go, right? And then you get back in this thing and no decision gets made. She gets frustrated.
And she's so frustrated. She's like, oh my gosh, right, help me. I can't decide, because she's in that time where she can't decide. Right.
Mm-hmm. So the controlling man says, we're going here and that's that, whether you like it or not. This is my favorite place. This is where we're going. And boom, that's that. And she doesn't really have a say. Whereas the man who's in control says, I got a great idea. How about I take you to your favorite Thai restaurant? But then she might say, but you know, we just had Thai the last time. I'm not really in the mood for it. And then he says, okay, no problem. I've got another idea. How about instead of the Thai place, we go to your other favorite place? So he's in control in a sense that he's making the decisions, yet he's listening to her and not controlling her.
Yes. That's a very good example. And, you know, I learned that concept through that relationship coach when I was in high school. That's exactly the same way, you know, he would illustrate it. And I think it's important for, you know, in society that we understand that concept, because, you know, it would be a win-win situation, because at the end of the day, we can't change women's nature that they want the man that's in control. That's just a woman's nature. But, you know, if we keep producing, you know, toxic behavior, I like what you said, toxic masculinity shouldn't go together, but men who portray toxic behavior, if we keep producing that in society, then what do the women have to choose from? All they're going to have is a bunch of men who just want to be, you know, controlling and dominating, and, you know, acting as if women have no type of say in anything. and that's just wrong.
So wait, before we jump to the next question, right now I can hear some feminists screaming at their iPod, phone, whatever they're listening to. They're screaming, right? I absolutely do not want to be controlled by. I can hear people are already having that reaction to some of this. But Céline, as the one woman in this conversation, I want to know, like, just very clearly say to the audience what your opinion on that is. Do you agree with it? Do you not agree with it? Is it total bullshit? Or are you like, hell yeah? I already know your answer, but I want you to say it.
Is that a booby trap?
You better say the right thing. No, I'm kidding.
I can see both sides. So I totally agree with that concept. But I also see, as a woman who went through different evolutions, that there's a time where you want to be seen as independent and want to free yourself and like, I don't need a man. And what I've learned through that is, I don't need a man. But when I'm in that energy, I can't create the most harmonious relationship that I could ever have. And oftentimes I will feel depleted at the end of the day, or overwhelmed or stressed out. And I had to come to a place then where I went from, I need a Prince Charming to save me, to I don't need a man, to then I want a man. And once I really made peace with that, and I could appreciate the masculine for the qualities that it would bring, I was able to attract the most amazing man ever and have this relationship. And it's funny because we joke about things, because I do love to belong to Kevin. And we joke about this between ourselves, and it's like, oh, you're mine. And I'm like, oh, yes, I'm yours. Because I know I'm totally free in this relationship, but I love to be claimed. And so I had to do the inner work within myself to understand that accepting being claimed or accepting somebody else's power did not diminish mine. It actually increased mine. And so I think it kind of ties in with some of the things that you talk about that balance of power. So once I owned mine and I wasn't afraid of it in a man, it really created the most amazing relationship. But before that, I was a strong woman who dated weaker men, and they all ended those relationships for sure.
Okay, so let's get back a little bit to the narcissist piece of it. So we kind of talked about how they show up, and how men who tend to be alpha males, like kind of the narcissists, tend to always be alpha males, and it's hard to tell a regular alpha male, apart from a narcissist. So the question is, one, how can you tell you're in a relationship with a narcissist? And then, what do you do when you're in a relationship with a narcissist?
Very good question. So in alphahood, what I like to call alphahood, there's, 4 different forms of alpha males. There's physical alpha males, there's sexual alpha males, there's emotional alpha males, and there's mental alpha males. So, so the very first thing that people have to understand is, just because a guy is 6'4" and muscular doesn't necessarily mean he's a narcissist, doesn't mean he's abusive, doesn't mean any of that stuff. Look at Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He used to be a wrestler, but simply because he was physically fit, but he's like this nice guy, sweetheart, teddy bear guy. You know what I mean? Like, he's like harmless. You don't see him beating people up or anything like that. So he's a physical alpha male, but he's not like an emotional alpha male where he has absolutely no emotions. So narcissists within those 4 realms tend to be emotional narcissists. Emotional alpha males or mental alpha males. What I mean by that is someone who's emotionally unavailable. Sometimes they're really just emotionally absent, and people they translate that as he's just confident. He just has no emotion. So there's something called the dark triad traits. The 3 dark triad traits are narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopath. So within those 3 traits, those all pretty much fall into emotional alpha maleism, because Machiavellianism is someone who is like deceptive. He's manipulative, or she, a female can be a narcissist too. So it's a person that, they have no regard for morality. So they will screw you over if it benefits them, but no problem. A psychopath has no emotion, can do something and feel no regret towards it. They don't care. And a narcissist is someone who they feel as they put the blame on other people. Even if I did something to you, I'm going to say that it's your fault. So when you put all those three things together, if you dating someone that, let's say, for example, you plan a date and, you're going out on a date for the first time and, you end up, you're late to the date or he's late to the date and he says, it's your fault. I'm late because you made me this. Like if they're always turning it around and placing it on you, that's a red flag.
Gaslighting.
Yeah, gaslighting. Perfect. Someone who gaslights, someone who, they're only concerned about their feelings, what they want, what they need, and they can care less about what you want, how you feel. You got to hit the road. Now, as far as what do you do if you find out you're in a relationship, that's the tough part. Reason being is because, so there's this lady on YouTube. I can't remember her name. And that's what her YouTube channel is about. And it's funny, like in the beginning of the show, you guys said, you're in Southern California and the narcissism. I was watching her channel one day and she said statistics show that Southern California have the highest percentage of narcissists in the country.
I am not surprised. I made that as a joke, but it was a joke based on my actual personal experience.
Yeah. It's an actual thing because it's easier to become a narcissist in Southern California because you have to be about yourself. It's very self-absorbing, so I had to laugh like quietly when you said that. I was like, man, he really said that.
I've been here 20 years, but I grew up on the East Coast. So, I can feel the differences.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence. It really, statistically, Southern California does have the highest percentage of narcissism. But see, what people have to understand, the reason why it's so hard to detect narcissism is because narcissism is a behavioral problem. It's not like someone who's bipolar. That's a medical condition that you have to seek like psychiatric help, medication, the whole 9 yards. So that's a medical disorder. But narcissism is a behavioral disorder. So it's harder to detect and it's harder to diagnose. So that's what makes it tricky. That's what makes it hard. But, it's just the little signs. And see, someone who has, so to really answer your question, if you love yourself, if you have self-worth, then once you realize you're in a relationship with a narcissist, it'll be easy for you to walk away. Someone who doesn't love themselves, they might stay with the narcissist because they want to help, or they see the good in the person, or they just don't want to be alone. So they just stick with the person, and 1 year turns into 5 years, turns into 10 years, turns into 20 years. And then by then you're just completely destroyed. So the way to walk away from a narcissist is to love yourself first.
Ooh, this is great. And I want to come back to that. But we're going to do a quick break for our second sponsor of the day. And we have an invitation to all the couples listening to the Love Lab podcast. If you are a committed couple who is stuck in a rut and just going through the daily motions, instead of connecting the way you used to, and you're tired of stale, mechanical sex that lacks spontaneity and fun, and you don't want to live a life of average, then Kevin and I would like to invite you to join our highly sexed Power Couple Platinum program. So if you give us 90 days, we will help you bring the passion back between the sheets and be synced up sexually so that you can thrive with more purpose and passion in life. So go to CelineRemy.com/passion to learn more about our most amazing program.
Yeah, this whole thing that we are talking about with polarity and masculinity and all that, this is major topics that we cover in that course.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Manny, you touched on some very important points here about the self-love and kind of the codependency where somebody has a wound, right? So you don't love yourself, you don't think you're worthy. So then you go and seek out people who will reinforce and kind of like keep cutting that wound open because it's kind of there, and it's kind of like say, see, I am not that lovable, and it's the proof. And I think the narcissists, from what we've seen, because as we said, we're in Southern California and we've seen many of those, they kind of like see those, they like spot them, and they're like, ooh, I can get power from like this weakling little being here. And it's literally they're feeding off each other. Have you seen in your experience narcissists actually change?
To be honest with you, no.
So run.
Yeah, I mean, I even talked to therapists about it, and they say that narcissism is literally like I said, it's one of the hardest things to detect, and at the same time, it's one of the hardest things to get rid of. So it's like the way I put it, like once a narcissist is always a narcissist. So that's why it's like you can't sit there and trying to fix or change a narcissist. You really can't. You're wasting your time. So, and I'm glad you said about that. What you know, they seek out weak links. You know, narcissists are predators. You know, either they're emotional predators or they're physical predators or whatever the case may be. They prey on the weak, and they're very opportunistic. You know, if they know that, okay, I'll be able to get her to do this for me. I'll be able to get him to do this for me. I'll be able to control them. I'll be able to get money from him. I'll be able to, you know what I mean? Whatever the case may be, you know, that's just what they do. So like in my book, I explain what I call validated relationships and dominated relationships. Dominated relationships is when it's based around the man, and a validated relationship is when it's based around the woman. So, and a woman's form of power is attention. A man's form of power is control. So a narcissistic female, she wants power, and her form of power is attention. She wants everything for, you know, like the little dolly doll. She thinks everything is about her. The world is hers. She doesn't do anything for him. He has to give her all this attention, money, do all this. She's a narcissist as well, but people don't notice that because, you know, she's emotionally opportunistic, but people don't notice that. Okay, that's a problem too. And a man that wants power, his form of power is control. So he wants to be controlling. He wants to be dominating. That's why I call it a dominated relationship. And in her, she wants everything to be validated. That's why I call it validated relationship. But the way you balance the power is, one, if you get rid of codependency, if you love yourself, you want to give them away power from the jump. Because once you give a narcissist power, they're going to continue to just take power from you. And it's like literally impossible to balance it, you know? So if you date someone who's not a narcissist, who's, you know, it's a give and take. If you give and they give, you give, they give, then you're balancing the power. But you're dating a narcissist, whether it's a female narcissist or male narcissist, you're giving to them and they're just taking, and you're just going to lose in the end.
You brought some really good points. I'm glad that you talked about this because I wanted to really touch that narcissists can come like female, male, like it's not gender related. It is a behavior. But I love that you also explained that it shows up differently. And I can see why there's a tendency to point out the narcissist behavior more in the masculine because they're more dominating and like more in your face. While the other one's like, oh, she's a diva and that's that. And maybe society accepts this a little bit more. But ultimately, neither one of these behaviors are healthy and the key to having a thriving relationship with yourself, with somebody else. In your opinion, how does low self-esteem factors into this?
Well, so for starters, the whole saying happy wife, happy life, I think is just the most narcissistic term you can say. You know, I mean, really, I believe in happy spouse, happy house. So
I like that. That's a good
Yeah.
reframe.
that's what people like. We have to normalize that. So like, for example, if I'm a low self-esteem guy, and I will believe in the happy wife, happy life, because I'm disregarding my own happiness. I just feel happy that I'm able to get this trophy wife. I'm able to get the most beautiful girl I was ever able to get in my entire life. So because I'm able to get her, I'm going to tolerate everything. She's going to be, narcissistic. She's going to be, controlling. She's going to be, selfish, whatever the case may be. And I'm just going to tolerate it simply because I don't want to lose her, simply because I feel good for the fact that I have her. You see what I'm saying? But if I love myself, I'm going to say, I can do without her. I'm just going to go be with someone else instead. So, I mean, we need more podcasts like this, really. We need more.
So, how about some tips for people? Like, what would be maybe, do you have a tip, a practice, or something for people who are finding themselves? This has been a fantastic conversation, and we are coming to the end of this show. But do you have a particular tip or practice that people could do right now if they find themselves stuck into a situation? Like, what's your first step? I know buying your book, but what else?
Definitely that. Well, the first step really is knowing yourself, right? So what I mean by that is there's something that I call, the emotional alpha scale, right? So if you're a 1 on the emotional alpha scale, that means you're very emotional, you want love, you want romance, you're a romantic type person. If you're a 10, you're more alpha, you would prefer a one-night stand or a fling over a romantic relationship. So if you know yourself and you know where you fall in that category, you can avoid those pitfalls. Like if you're if a woman is a very romantic person, she's a 1 on the emotional alpha scale, she has no business dating a man who's a 10 on the emotional alpha scale, because he doesn't care about love or any of that stuff. So he's just going to take advantage of the fact that she's so emotional, and all she's going to do is be his cheerleader. All she's going to do is just like root him on for everything and just try to be there for him. And she's going to tolerate him cheating. She's going to tolerate him doing anything because she wants to prove that she's a loyal person. But if she dates someone who's also, a romantically emotional person, a helpless romantic, if you will, then she wouldn't fall into those pitfalls. So the first thing is to know where you fall on what I call the emotional alpha scale.
So basically know thyself,
Yeah,
followed up by love thyself.
100%. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Manny, this has been a great conversation. Where can our listener find more about what you do, the works you do, your books, and all of that?
Okay, well, for starters, they can find me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Clubhouse, Twitter, TikTok, everywhere you can find me at. I am Manny Santana. So, at symbol, I am MANNY Santana, SANTANA. They can find me on my website, mannysantana.com, or they can email me, contact@mannysantana.com. And also, I don't know if I think I sent you the link. They can pre-order my course. It will be available next month in a couple weeks. They can register. So I'm gonna have like a course, and I'm also gonna have like a master class where if you can sign up for the master class, it'll be like a 6-week class, or you can just purchase the course where you could just, watch the videos and kind of self-teach. So, I maybe you can leave the link in the
we'll have a link in the comments for that. Yep.
Yeah. Or they can go to secretsoftheguycode.com.
Perfect. Secret of the Guy Code. But all the links will be there. But for those listening right now, and then Manny Santana also, I am Manny Santana. Manny, this is our last question that we love to end every show with. Tell us, what is your best sexual talent?
That's a very good question. All of it. Let's just say I know how to please a woman, and she won't go without an orgasm.
All right. He delivers the O.
There we go.
Good one, Kevin.
All right, Manny, thanks so much for coming on the show. It was a great conversation, and check the description for how to find more about Manny.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I'd be more than happy, to come back on the show anytime in the future. If, whenever you can find time, if you'd love to bring me back, I'd be honored.
All right. So there you go, listeners. Make sure you listen to this episode and like it. And if y'all like it, we will have Manny back on because it was a great conversation. All right. That's all the time we have for this episode, and we will see you next week. We hope you liked this episode of the Love Lab podcast. If you enjoy this show, subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with your friends.
And for more free, exclusive content, join us in the Passion Vault at CelineRemy.com/vault. That's CELINEREMY.com/vault.
Thanks for listening.
And remember, you're amazing.